Minister, I hope you can hear me. Thank you very much for joining me this morning. Now, obviously, in your capacity of Chief Secretary of the Treasury, I must ask you about our inflation rate. What interests me is that a couple of Rishi Sunak's deliverables seem undeliverable, Mr. Glen. You've got him wanting to bring inflation down to 5%. That doesn't seem to be manageable within a year. It wasn't even that ambitious a target. He's also talked about bringing down the debt, and yet we found out this week Britain's debt is 100% of GDP. What's going wrong here?
Well, he set out the targets on the 6th of January for this year. I recognise they're challenging targets. He said at the start, although not everyone believed him, that they wouldn't be easy to fulfil. Obviously, what we're facing in terms of inflationary pressures in the UK economy is really significant. We've got three main tools of dealing with that: interest rate policy, my work controlling public spending, and then supporting families through that. You're right to show the fact that we have a significant amount of debt. You know, we shut down the economy 3 years ago, essentially, borrowed a lot of money with a furlough and other support schemes, came out of that with a period of high inflation consequential of the war, and we have higher interest payments as a government due to interest rates going up. That is a very, very challenging set of circumstances, but ones that we're determined to meet. And dealing with inflation is the major threat.
Is some of this the fault of the Bank of England Governor Andrew Bailey? He should have acted much quicker, shouldn't he? If you look back, November 2021, interest rates were still 0.5%. Over in America, they've managed their inflation rate better because they put interest rates up sooner.
Well, the Prime Minister himself was one of the very earliest people in this country to talk about the inflationary pressures when he was Chancellor, when I was working with him as Economic Secretary. As you know, the Bank of England is independent of government. We work closely with them, but they make those decisions.
Have they made the wrong decision?
Increased our rates by 0.5% last week. I'm not here to commentate. I'm here to work closely with the Bank of England. People don't want us to be squabbling amongst ourselves. What we should be doing is having a committed and united plan to deal with high inflation in our economy. That is what we're doing in government, and that is what the Governor of the Bank of England is doing with the interest rate decisions.
One of the panellists on our People's panel has made the point that he doesn't think that government ministers are in touch with the public. The question was from him, do you know how bad it is out there? Are you aware of the risk to people losing their homes? We've got 1.3 million people who they're coming off their fixed rate mortgages very soon. Much is made of household debt, but actually, what about businesses? What about businesses that are struggling to pay the bills? Conservatives have put up corporation tax literally on no profits because nobody seems to be making any money. So surely you're worried about businesses folding as well as people struggling to pay their mortgages.
Well, we're worried about all aspects of delivering government policy as effectively as possible. I mean, what I can say to you, of course I'm aware of how difficult this is. I have constituents who email me expressing their concerns. All members of Parliament who are ministers do that. And that's why the Chancellor met with lenders, met with the FCA on Friday, both to challenge them on what's happening in terms of passing on increased interest rates, but also to productively come out with some interventions with respect to being able to move over to interest only for 6 months with no penalties consequential of that, and be able to talk to lenders without any risk to credit rating, as well as clarifying the 12-month interval from repossession.
But why is there talk then, Mr. Glen? Why is there talk then that it might be favourable for us to enter recession in order to bring this inflation rate down? Because people who own small businesses, and indeed people who are worried about their mortgages, will be tearing their hair out. Anyone that's interested in growth will think it's complete economic lunacy to be talking about forcing ourselves into recession. This is managed decline on steroids, isn't it?
Well, I'm not talking about a recession. What I'm talking about is halving inflation, the Prime Minister's top priority. That's what the Chancellor, the Prime Minister and myself are completely committed to achieving. Well, the Prime Minister has set out the objective to halve inflation by the end of the year, and we are working to that goal. He has said, and I recognise it is going to be challenging to do that, but no doubt you will hold us to account at the end of the year.